So several years ago, I published a study about hairstyles that are more likely to lead to traction alopecia, and we divided those hairstyles into three categories: so high risk hairstyles, moderate risk, and low risk. And high risk hairstyles are things like very tightly done dreadlocks or micro braids. So you have those really, really fine, very small braids that insert along the hairline. And then moderate risk hairstyles were things like braids applied to natural hair, which are less likely to lead to hair loss than braids applied to relaxed hair. Also things like buns and ponytails. And then our low risk hairstyles were things like your hair just being worn loosely, or very loose buns or loose ponytails where you kind of change the height of the ponytail over time. I think it's not as black and white as coming up with like a list of hairstyles that lead to traction alopecia, but really a patient by patient basis and really understanding who's at risk for developing traction in those hairstyles and who's less at risk. And so that chart is actually excellent for people who I say have hair that's not very resilient. There are some women who honestly can do anything they want to their hair. It will be beautiful. They will experience no hair loss at all. Those women do not end up in my clinic. The women who end up in my clinic are the ones who try those beautiful hairstyles and it pulls out their hair no matter what they do. And that's when we really talk about, is there something that you can do to make this less dangerous and less likely to lead to hair loss for you?
How do you know if your hair is it just trial and error?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, I think a lot of it is trial and error, but I think by the time you reach a certain age, you really should know. And I think it's something like this, like if I were to give a metaphor, right? If I had like a plate of French fries in front of you, if you have no history of high blood pressure, you have no risk for heart disease, I'll say, sure, you should have fries in moderation, like no big deal, right? But if you have high blood pressure, I'll say, well, you can have fries, but really don't make a habit of this. Maybe you have it like once a month. But if you have high blood pressure and you have kidney disease, you can't have fries at all, right? You may have to go on a salt-free diet. And that's how, honestly, these braids and extensions are, right? If you have had braids and every time you get braids put in, no matter what you do, like let's say you had micro braids, but then you move to box braids, which I think are less tension, and then you move to twists, which are even less tension, and then you move to crochet braids, and you're still getting hair loss, well, then you might have to be extension free, right? And there's some women who are just like that. And so it is kind of trial and error. And there are some women who can wear micro braids and they still have their entire hairline intact and they can, relax their hair and color it and they still have no breakage. I think by adulthood, again, most of us have tried enough hairstyles that we kind of know where we fall, but there can be that denial for people who fall into that very, very low resiliency group and they really, really want to employ some of these very beautiful styles and they just can't.